Comes to the MCU Netflix shows, the ones that were made by Marvel Television before Disney Plus started up: Daredevil, The Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Defenders. These shows that on paper are quote unquote in the MCU, but were made by a separate team and were always pretty disconnected from the movies, to the point where it was very clear that the people at Marvel Studios that were making the movies, they weren't really paying attention to what was going on in the Marvel television shows. Recently, the topic of whether these shows are canon or not has become a bigger deal than it was before, because Daredevil Born Again will be coming out. It's very weird what Disney has announced when it comes to this show, because they started off by saying, like, oh, this show is going to be doing its own thing more so than being season 4 of the Netflix show. But then more recently, they've changed their tune and have said, oh, we're bringing all the main characters back. We're bringing back Matt Murdock, Foggy Nelson, and Karen Page, and actually Bullseye as well from Daredevil Season 3. So they basically said, yeah, this is actually going to be 100% a continuation to the Netflix show. Even before all these Daredevil Born Again announcements, Matt Murdock first appeared in Spider-Man No Way Home, and then he appeared in She-Hulk, and then we got Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, in Hawkeye and Echo. So especially with the Daredevil show, it's certainly more relevant now than it was before, because a few characters from that specific show have actually appeared in Marvel Studios movies or shows. But none of the events from Daredevil have been referenced so far in any Marvel Studios movie or TV show. Also, think about Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist right now. None of the characters from those shows have showed up anywhere else in the MCU. They haven't showed up in any of the films or any of the other TV shows. And when you look at the Netflix shows, the most you really got there is subtle little references. Like in Daredevil, you have Matt Murdock mentioning that, oh, the world saw New York get destroyed. There's a few newspaper headlines about the end of the Incredible Hulk and the final battle in the Avengers, or you have mentioned that, oh, if you had a magic hammer, maybe that could explain it. Or in the Jessica Jones show, she indirectly references characters from the MCU. She says, like, oh, I'm not the big green guy. So she's referring to Hulk, but doesn't actually say Hulk because it was a different team making those shows. So you have a few small things like this that don't really mean much. It's like, okay, on paper, these shows are in the MCU, but when I look at these shows, I'm like, no, I don't think they're actually canon. That's a stance I have right now. I mean, maybe I will change my mind when it comes to the Daredevil and Punisher shows specifically, because it seems like those characters will be coming back in Daredevil Born. Both of them will be coming back in Daredevil Born Again. But when you look at Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, no one at Marvel Studios has, as far as I'm aware, really made any effort to say that, oh, we're bringing them back. They're going to actually appear in a Marvel Studios project. So I don't think that they're really coming back. In which case, especially, I'm like, yeah, I don't think these shows are really canon. On a similar note, you have Runaways and Cloak and Dagger that were originally on Hulu. One of them, Runaways, is now on Disney Plus. The other one, Cloak and Dagger, is only on Hulu. For the moment, those two services will be combining, so you'll have both of those shows on one streaming service instead of two. But in those cases especially, I mean, there's pretty much no references to the MCU. I mean, you look at Runaways specifically, and you see it's one of the two shows. You do see the Darkhold later on. That's the only thing really connecting it to the MCU, but other than that, it's just doing its own thing. So again, it's like, okay, on paper, these shows are in the MCU, but in practice, Yeah, they really aren't.